This week on the Media Corps Minute podcast, I sit down with Scott and Jen Elder, the owners of Midwest Lifeshots and Spacebox Photography. You're in for a treat this week. This was so much fun. I had a blast, and there was a ton of good points just for business and growth and everything. Stay tuned. You're going to enjoy this one. Scott, Jen, how are you guys doing today?
Great, man.
Good.
Doing well.
I'm glad that we got you in. I know this is something I've wanted to do for a while, have you guys on. And I was actually going to say it was a fun story. Scott and Jen did my wife and I's photos for our wedding and engagement, but we just did Rachel's. And I haven't seen them. Are they done?
Yeah, I mean, we just released them to her not too long ago. There's plenty of embarrassing photos of you.
I'm excited to see those ones.
Yeah.
No, but the video, I don't know if you saw that. I think we just finished that. We were excited about it.
I haven't seen it
cool.
yet. Is it on? Did she post it?
I'd probably not.
Okay.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
So we were watching that. I'm like, well, I'm excited to see the photos. You sent me that one.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I'd love just seeing the photos like day of or just.
Oh yeah, man.
The behind the scenes is great because it's all the stuff that you didn't
Love the
realize was
behind the
going
scenes.
on.
Yeah. And I'm a huge fan of finding every embarrassing photo of you guys that I can.
Yeah. And then it ends up as my phone background.
Yeah.
For you.
Yep. Always my
Like screenshot,
contact.
like, hey, this is your new contact.
Absolutely.
Like,
Horrible. Always the worst photos.
That's my favorite.
Well, as we kind of get into things, I just wanted to ask, because I know you got a couple businesses. I want to just so the listeners kind of know, what are those companies, and just like a brief overview of what you guys do for those.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah, why don't you take that for now?
Okay. So we have our main company is called Three Little Birds, and it's kind of our parent company, and we have a few different businesses underneath it. And the main two are Midwest Lifeshots Photography, which is portraits, weddings, newborns, and all of that. And our other one is Spacebox Photography, which is more real estate and commercial photography. And we got started with Spacebox it's been about 20 years ago.
Wow.
when we first started with it. And at that point it was technology for realtors, which was it's a terrible name. Way too many words and syllables.
I mean, to go back, like my dad started, he was a realtor when we moved to Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And then when he was in real estate, he realized that there was a big need for the realtors to have help with technology because obviously a lot of things, this was like in 2000. And so this was a year that like a lot of things were changing all at once. The internet was coming out and all that sort of stuff. So he just wanted to help them with technology. So that was his company, Technology for Realtors, just helping other realtors figure out pictures and how to get those on the website and all that sort of stuff. So then it kind of warped into doing photography for them.
Well, at the time, the technology side of it was the only company in existence for us. And her dad ran it. I moved up to Minnesota from Central Illinois to work there because my wife was super cute, and I was like, I don't care, I want to be close to her. So, so I moved up here and kind of joined him and the Technology for Realtors company. We did everything from, at that time, people had no idea how to get a computer. We would literally like build computers for them. Like even just on websites where they couldn't understand how to do it. It was really like kind of the dawn of the internet really being something that was accessible to create technology. And so we got started doing that, and that evolved into photography of different residential listings for realtors in the area. And then we started realizing that we started learning a lot of Photoshop techniques.
Well, I will say, like, to get started into the virtual tours.
Right.
So the reason why that started was because way back when, and if realtors are listening, they'll remember this, is when we had Ultrex, which was more like like, it wasn't even an app because we didn't have apps at that time. You know, there were no apps, and it was like a program. And this is where the MLS was, and you had to go in and upload your photos, but you were only allowed 7 photos per house. So we were the main ones to do virtual tours in the area for the longest time, because that way we could show more of the house.
Right.
So people could click on that link and then see more of the house that way. So that was kind of our way to get around that.
Right. Right. And we expanded on it. We kept doing the virtual tours, kept doing the photography. We went to conferences, the nerdiest conferences you could ever imagine. Literally to Photoshop World in Las Vegas, where for 4 days we walked around with a bunch of other nerds and learned how to use Photoshop. And then so that was our only business for a large chunk of time. And then we decided it would have been about 2005, 2006, we had our niece and nephew over, and we stole your father's camera. He had a better camera than the virtual tour
Canon
camera.
Rebel.
It's a terrible camera. I mean, look at it now, you're like, gosh, it's a terrible
it's a good
camera.
starter camera.
But it's a starter camera, and we took it, and we took some photos of our niece and nephew, and a couple of them really stood out to us. Like, if we learned more about this, I think we could maybe do this and take pictures of people. And so we started learning. We went into intense education on portrait photography.
Well, we quickly realized that we knew a lot more about Photoshop and the technology part of it than most other photographers
at that time.
At that time.
Yeah.
So we were like, this is going to be easy for us to just kind of develop our skill with the camera.
So the pun you did there, I like that.
Yeah.
What did I do? I didn't even.
Develop.
Oh, obviously I didn't do it on purpose. So, yes. No. So we just decided to learn more about the camera and really research that and learn that from different books and different. We also talked to a lot of other photographers in the area and got to know them and everything. So that kind of.
And then in 2000 would have been what year did we officially?
Our first technical wedding with Midwest Lifeshots. I was pregnant with Emily, so 2008, summer of 2008.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't even know if we were really a company at that point.
But that's what I think so, because then we started that was when we really started to develop that name and.
That's true. It was right about 2008. So we're coming up we're in our 16th year of doing weddings and families and newborns and all that good stuff. And the two companies now coexist. We have other people that work for us within each company that take on other weddings and real estate photography. And
I was going to say, how big are the teams for these?
So we have 3. We actually just developed a 4th team for the portrait side.
For Midwest Lifeshots, yeah.
So we could do up to 4 weddings a weekend.
Wow.
And with real estate, what do we have? We have 5 different people right now that could be filming a house.
Which is what we need. I think that's something unique that we offer for the real estate photography is just the turnaround time. Is just a realtor will call us and just say, oh, we need this filmed tomorrow or the next day. We get it done.
Usually do
we get it. We give it back to them by the end of the next business day, and so they have their photos and they're ready. And we can only do that honestly by having so many of us.
Having so many people.
Right.
That's what helps.
But it's terrifying. That mentality, that MO for a business is terrifying because it's something that with portrait photography, so this is where our two companies mesh and create a different business because we can look at our calendar for September of this year, and we know portrait-wise we might have 7 weddings booked. We got it down. If we look in the same week, we have 0 things booked for the real estate side because those things book a day out, 2 days out, 3 days out.
Yeah, they get a listing and it's like, hey,
they got to go.
Yeah, it's not something that's booked out ahead of time.
It's a very interesting thing to balance. It's why I wear.
I was gonna say
inside out anxiety shirt, man.
To anxiety.
It may as well be called real estate. It is. It's a wonderful business, and we love doing it.
Oh yeah.
But from the business side,
Did you tell me not to do real estate?
I did. I think what I said was I like it, but I don't know that it'll be sustainable. I remember thinking realtors want things so quickly.
Yeah.
And you are more of a perfectionist with your videos, which is great, which is why you guys are as successful as you are. And I'm just like, they're not going to wait. They're not going to sit there and go like, nah, it's 2 or 3 weeks. It's fine. Their realtors are convinced that if you photograph it on Tuesday, get it to them on Wednesday, it will sell on Thursday. And if they don't have the images the next day, it's not going to work out. Yeah. It's a great business. We love both businesses, but that's kind of how they...
I remember you and I had coffee super early on.
Yeah.
When I was just getting started.
Yeah.
And you told me like, yeah, a lot of people won't take my meeting and have a coffee, and I'm like, why? Why wouldn't they?
I know.
You've been doing this. You have experience in it.
Exactly. You're smart.
I'm trying to learn as much as I can.
Absolutely.
Yes. Right.
No, I have so much respect for you, Josh. I've followed your company from. I joke all the time about how you know that. I think I already said it 5 minutes into getting here. I'm like the basement. Those like old videos of you getting started in your business, but the fact that you've always handled your business with integrity, with respect to others in similar industries and even competing industries, just to try to do the right thing out there instead of just like try to beat someone else to the punch.
Nope.
And yeah, I still think about that. I loved that meeting. I loved connecting with you early on. It's just such a fun time, and it's something that I'm always blown away why businesses will not meet up with other people. We can only improve by doing that.
Yeah. You always have to be learning, and that's
totally.
Absolutely.
And we're thankful for the people that have taken us under their wing right at the beginning. I mean, Fagans, like they would meet with us, and there's that's amazing, because it's like you have to kind of realize that like there's enough for everybody to succeed here.
So much work.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
So we just have so much respect for people like that, and are appreciative of that too. So.
I like too that you've been just calling like the stages too of business. You're like, you're gonna go to the cities too, and it's like now we're doing a bunch in the cities, and like we'll probably have a location in the cities.
Like a prophet.
now.
You're like a prophet.
I'm a technology prophet. I just see such a
fire my other coach. Just
Yeah. What does Scott say though? I mean, that's the question.
The thing that I think is interesting, and you've been in business long enough too, that I know that when you meet with other people that run a business, you can tell who has their heart in it and who is wanting to do things the right way. When you do that, when you see someone that has that, you know they're going to grow. You know they have a good trajectory. So you can just look at them and you can go, well, yeah, you're doing great in Rochester, but I just know you're going to do better. Nothing against Rochester, but I know there's more work out there, and you will grow, and you'll get bigger and bigger, and eventually, and you guys are always traveling. It feels like every day I'm watching a video of MediaCorp packing up their truck to go somewhere new, and it's wonderful to see. But it's something you can call early when you see a business that you know is just doing things the right way.
One thing too I wanted to ask too is like, what for you guys? I mean, do you do much traveling between kind of the companies and their destination weddings, or what does that look like for location wise?
We don't do a lot of destination weddings. Every now and then.
Like we've gone to Dominican Republic and
we've done a few.
Like Chicago and things like that. But we don't
more regional.
Yeah, we are more regional.
Yeah, we're more regional, and we kind of like it that way. I think for us, our life stage too. It's like when we have 3 children, so for us to like get up and leave and go to a wedding in Jamaica and be gone for like 4 days is pretty difficult when you have 3 kids and a dog you got to take care of,
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate enough to have my parents in town too, so they've helped a lot, especially when they were younger. But we had enough when they were younger that we would be gone full Saturdays, just doing a wedding. I mean, now luckily we have our team that does a lot of them, so we're able to spend time with our kids, which is great. But we adding on top of that, just the traveling and stuff, we weren't willing to do to be.
And we
away
kind
from
of
them.
spread it across the other teams too. So if we have weddings so for the travel, we might say, well, we have a team that's based in Des Moines, Iowa, so they're going to do the bulk of the Iowa.
And like Omaha, like we'll go
they'll
there.
go to they'll cover Nebraska and things like that. But then when we have most of our teams are here in the Rochester area, and so 3 of the 4 are here in Rochester. So for those 3, we might say, well, these people are going to the cities this weekend, and then these people will go to Duluth the next weekend, and so we kind of spread it. Spread it around.
I like that. What's both your backgrounds before you two met?
Oh. Well, background before we met. What is my background? Because my background is when we met. Because we met when I was in high school still. So I feel like as far as like.
I didn't know you met that early on.
Yeah. She was almost done with high school.
Yeah. Well, I guess my background would be I grew up on the East Coast, and then Mayo Clinic moved our family out to Minnesota in '91. So I was like 10. And so then I pretty much grew up in Rochester. Yeah. So this is kind of my hometown. So, and then we bought the house from my parents like 6 years ago. So we live in the same house that I grew up in pretty much. But then, when I was in high school, you might remember, maybe not because you're young, America Online, AOL.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's how we met, because I was searching the member directory just to chat with somebody. I wasn't even looking for a guy or anything, really. And I searched for Austin Powers, because I really liked that movie at the time. So I searched for that. And of course, because he's a huge movie buff, his member directory came up, and it said, or his profile came up. I don't know
what that said.
And it had some quote from Austin Powers.
I was like, at that point, I was like early in college, and I'm sure that I had a very inappropriate quote.
Probably. We all, sure Austin Powers isn't the most appropriate movie, so.
I'm sure that I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
That somehow you were like, that's my guy.
Oh, yeah. Like, so I instant messaged him, because that's what it was, AOL Instant Messenger. And he was my buddy. So, and then honestly, it was kind of just like a friendship for a long time. And it was really slow. We talked online and on the phone for like 2 years before we even met in person. Oh. So, but this is like, ancient before. This is not normal to meet somebody online back in this time period, because nowadays it's like that's how people meet all the time, is through apps and stuff. At this time it was like unheard of.
No, when you told your parents that that's how you met me.
I didn't tell them.
Well, you didn't. Why? And then when you did tell them. What do they think? Your mom was like, really, she scolded you like big time.
Because they think you're like a serial killer. That's right. So
so
you're gonna get taken.
Right, exactly. It's like, how do you know who he is? And,
exactly.
And now it's like normal.
Now it's very normal.
Crazy to me.
I'd say 9 out of 10 couples that we meet with for weddings met online.
Like Bumble.
That's very
wild.
Yep. All the time.
Yep. I don't know if he was actually asking for our story.
Well, like,
or if he was just asking for our
I like it.
background.
But I like
because that's why. But like he said before you met, so then I was like, well, it was kind of that. And then I went to college, and I have a communications degree. Well, I went to a private college, so I have technically a double major in communications and Bible. Nice. And so. But what am I doing?
When you were going to college, though, what was like the dream? What were you going to go do job-wise?
At first, I think I started off in elementary education, so I wanted to be a teacher.
Okay.
And then it switched when I went to a Sunshine Music Festival to being to wanting to be a youth pastor for some reason. I think almost all Christians kind of go through that phase. Yeah. And that changed. And then I don't know. I just kind of I think I wanted to do something more general. Maybe working for my dad. I knew that because I had worked for my dad before I went to college. I knew that was always like a possibility. So I think just keeping that open, but I also wanted to have a degree just in case I went into something else. But I really didn't know. Photography, as far as doing the portraits, was never really something I thought of. But I did take a photography class in college, though.
Took one class.
Like in the darkroom and stuff like that. But
there you go.
But that wasn't really in my like plan for the future. So I don't know. Yeah.
I did yearbook in high school. That was probably the most photography I ever studied. I am a college dropout. I had way too much fun in college. It's kind of nice, actually, for us to parent that way.
Yeah.
For me to be able to say, like, well, your mom went through with it. She followed through. Your dad was a total failure in college. But it's an interesting it's interesting looking back at it that I went mostly for technology. So at the time I was in information technology, so just like general computer studies and things like that was what I went to school for. But I never took anything business related. I never took anything photography related.
And you were only like a few credits from actually graduating.
Yeah, that's
right?
how bad I am.
You still go back and just finish.
Yeah, but
but you know what?
Information technology, you can't go. It's so shit.
Nothing transfer.
You'd probably have to go the whole 4 years again.
Yeah, I'm like, can I start up again? Because I know Excel 2003.
Yeah.
And they're like, no. So,
not even that.
No, not even that. just terrible. But I think that's something that speaks a little to, how photography for us, like it's a job where your creative itch is really scratched. And if you can, if you are a people person, if you can relate to people and you are truly joyful being around people and having a good time with people, you can learn everything else that is necessary to do the job. I credit your father a lot in the success of our business because he has his MBA, so he walked us through a lot of the infancy of our company and ultimately believed in us enough to invest in us to let us grow to where we were, so that we could buy the company from him at one point and kind of take it over.
Yeah.
But no real training. It is interesting. Like not real.
Just
How about you? I'm curious. I don't want to spin the camera around here.
Like schooling wise?
Yeah.
I dropped out too. I went for personal training, and I'm like it was one semester, and I'm like, I'm not doing this. Like, and I literally just stopped going to classes, and I think they just failed you out or whatever, and because you just didn't attend, and now that school hires us for video work, so
that is
outstanding. Success story.
Wow, that is outstanding. You should say how about instead of the invoice,
that's right.
I just get an honorary degree.
Right. Just do this.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But no, I dropped out and I started working different places, and it was kind of the same thing. You try a bunch of stuff, and we just had a video guy come in, a kid in Owatonna, just interested in what we're doing. And I was telling him, I'm like, I kept working places, and I'd work my way up, hit a ceiling. It's like, all right, next one, work your way up, hit the ceiling.
Right.
There's just no next position or next thing that you could do or take on.
Right.
And that was it. And it's like, well, when you're super hungry to just progress, you can't just settle with that.
Right.
So it was that pattern, it was 3 businesses, and the last one I was at for 4 years. Moved my way up. It was a great company. It was fun. But they're like, yep, it's the GM and the owners, and they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And you can make a great living if you spend the next, 30 whatever years here. But it's like, I'm 23 at the time or something like that. It's like, no way,
Yeah.
So that's when, and I think that was kind of when the internet was big on owning your own company.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Just you gotta, entrepreneurs and own your own business, and it's they promise money and freedom, and you do whatever you want, and nice houses and cars, and and every kid's excited to do that, so you jump into it. I did too. That was an attractive message. I'm like, that's why not?
Yeah.
And hit the pavement running. Just didn't know anybody in town whatsoever, and you start growing and building it up, and you figure out, well, that's not what this is all about at all.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not all this, money and free time that you can do whatever you want. There's a grind. It's a huge grind. And, that's why you see so much turnover. They come and they go. New one, no, not what I thought it was going to be. And he was asking me what, so was your passion video? I was like, well, I liked video. I think it's really cool, but it was just something I was good at. It was something I knew.
Right.
But I love people. I'm like, that's what really helped. And what happened was I fell in love with business, and now that's what I'm addicted to, is just how companies operate, how they grow and they scale and they do different things. And so it's, yes, video is our tool, you know, at MediaCore and what we do, but like I love like progression in business, and
Absolutely.
Like, that's so much fun now.
Absolutely.
And
I feel that's my core.
Yeah, I feel like that's very similar to our story as well. Like, you love the business aspect, but people is what is where the passion is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And and I even say that about what's the difference, you know, between the real estate and the portrait side. It's like, the real estate is awesome because it's just so, it's kind of mindless. You know, you go in, you get to look at these awesome houses. And not all of them are awesome, but like,
that's true.
But both. Right? But still, it's interesting nonetheless.
Well, you get to try to make things good.
Yeah, exactly, and we do, and that's great too. But it's kind of it's an easy job, but it's fun. But there's not a lot of heart behind it. You know what I mean? But that's where the portrait side of it is, like, there's a lot of heart there. There's a lot of being able to see a newborn baby, being able to see the family interact, being at the father-daughter dance, you know, for the wedding, or even just dealing with other, you know, somebody's dog is about to die, and you're taking pictures of their family when their dog is about to die. And it's like, I can't even tell you how special it is to be able to capture those moments, you know? So I feel like it's the passion and of the people that bring us back to this type of job. But for you, like, the business part of it, you just love so much. And we actually tell people that if they want to get started in photography, oh, like, my daughter's really interested in photography and she's about to go to school, you know, what do you recommend? And we honestly say, go for business, because a lot of photographers out there are in it because they love the creative side so much, which is so great, but they don't know how to run a business. It's that's another, I wouldn't be in this job if it was, I don't know what I'm doing as far as business goes. You know, he's the one that knows that part of it.
Right.
So it's so smart to get that background and understand how the business works, to combine that with your creativity. Then you can, I think, be the most successful. So.
Well, it's very interesting when you really start looking at the percentage of time that you spend behind the camera. With it being a photography, photography is the job, and you spend 5 to 10%.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Of the time behind the camera. And I think at the beginning, when you first want to pursue it as a career, you think it's the other way around. Right. You're like, 90, I'm just going to wake up, go photograph people. At the end, maybe I'll check some emails. Like that. That's it. And Jen is, in our company, we've progressed a lot, and we've gotten to a point where we've started to say, like, well, you know, let's find our lanes and, like, stay in them. We can go faster in them if we do that. And so we go, like, well, is it more beneficial for me to photograph a family or to work on a marketing plan? Well, the marketing plan is better for me, and the family is better for Jen. So there's a lot of just splitting up the roles within the company, finding where everybody succeeds and sending them down that path. And it's not but it is something, when people come to us and say, like, well, how do we do it? How do we get started? We're like, we can teach you everything you need to know about a camera. We can show you why a photo works. We can show you all of that. But if you don't enjoy hanging out with people, if you don't get choked up, man, we've done like 500 weddings. Man, I still get choked up seeing, like, a first look with I still get choked up. Father-daughter dance gets me every single time. Don't care. I've heard Butterfly Kisses probably 300 times.
It's been a while since that song's played, let's face it.
The first 300 weddings.
Well, I know.
I've heard it 300 times. I mean, it's been a lot, right?
Josh is like, I don't even know that song.
But, or My Wish. Like that. I've heard those songs. It doesn't matter. I can hear them over and over. I can hear them like 1,000 more times. I'm somehow singing along every single time. Because my heart is in that. My heart is in seeing being there. We really, I tell clients, like, we are honored to be at your wedding. And it's not a sales pitch. It's like, we really are. Like, this is the first chapter of your lives together. That's it. And you're going, like, hey, you break that spine, you open up that book, we're capturing it. We're the ones that are recording it. It truly is an honor. It's an amazing thing. It's amazing. And if you get that and you enjoy that, and then you learn how to manage that, you're good to go. You don't have to know anything about a camera. You handed me a Sony camera right now. I have no idea how to use it. But I guarantee I could learn it.
Yeah.
And I guarantee I could learn how to use it. But I can't learn how to appreciate the people. I just
Right.
can't.
Right.
You either do or you don't. You're a people person or you're not.
Right.
But it is a blend of trying to figure out how to. That's great, but what does a P&L statement look like for you this quarter? You know, Jen doesn't know.
I don't even know what P&L means.
She doesn't
Profits
know.
and loss.
Good for you, honey. Proud of you.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Barely got that one.
Good guess. Good guess. Yeah.
No, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, it's when you look at all these young kids that want to get into this industry everywhere. I mean, everywhere. Because it doesn't cost that much to buy a decent camera, you know, and a lens and a flash and something like that, or a light, you know, in our case. And then it's like, you know, they hit the street and it's like, I'll just do stuff for free.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll
It's
just,
okay
you
at the
know,
beginning to build your portfolio,
we all start
and
there.
you know,
Yep.
but then it's like, well, now I have to start charging because I can't, you know, and then I have to get work, and now I'm competing with all these other people that are charging, and you know, you even can do that for a while, bootstrap it, but then you get a threshold where you're competing with like now these companies that have been doing it forever that dominate these areas, and it's like now how do I stack up against that without just being the cheapest? And then and if you're the only one doing it, then you have to do everything.
Right.
Then you're getting burned out.
And
It's
most
like-
of them, can I just say, as
burn out.
most of them as photographers have another job. This is what they do on the side as like an extra thing, and or they have a husband already that's supporting them or something, and you know, so it's not even necessarily that they're relying on it to make a living, but they totally get burnt out because of that, because they have kids and a job, and they have to. I mean, the lucky part for us is that we actually had the business before we had kids. So we kind of learned how do we manage this with kids as we were growing. You know, it wasn't like we grew.
The family grew with the business.
Right, exactly. So it was kind of a nice way to do that, you know, not versus like just, I guess, having kids before and then starting the business. And it was
I can't imagine how people do that, honestly. I'm like, wow, that's
try to find
impressive.
time for that and everything.
But I also think when you talk about like the pricing thing, you know, especially for a creative field, if it's ours or yours or whatever, people get in and they charge very little. But most of the time, when you take the time and meet with people who are willing to meet with you that are in the industry, you learn those expenses. You understand how you can't start there. If you do start there, you're setting yourself up for failure. You know, either you're going to attract a bunch of cheap clients that aren't willing to invest in it, and then they're going to leave you once you realize to increase your rate, and or you're offending the people who would work with you later down the road. You go like, well, if you want a referral from me, I would love to send a referral to someone that I know and care about that is reputable in the industry. And we have people that we know and care about. But I've had people that are brand new that charge a third of what we charge for a wedding and say like, hey, if you have any extra leads. And I'm like, why would I understand why it costs, you know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to do a wedding. You're bidding that out at $1,500. Like, I'm not going to send a client your way because you don't understand that business side of it, you know? Whereas, like, take the time, like we did, like you did, like get to know others in your field. And it'll help you. Just leaps and bounds helps you.
Video was weird coming into Rochester. Like there's probably 3 or 4 main companies that did it. And you know, I tried to meet with a couple of them. A couple of them took my meetings. Probably 3 of them. And you know, one kind of even like checked me almost like, you know, like good luck kind of thing.
Oh wow!
And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, people in Rochester don't pay for this stuff, like companies. They don't see the value in it. They won't invest in it. And
for commercial video?
For commercial video,
Wow.
So, and these were like not the freelancers. These were the guys that have been doing it for a while.
Right.
And, you know, I'm like, okay, you know, but boy, did we ever figure that out.
Right.
Like everyone was, nope, that's too much. We're used to paying because everyone's used to paying the news station.
Right.
Every news station here does $500 to free.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because if you're paying us $6,000 a month for, a locked in period, we'll throw in a video,
Sure.
and then the company's like,
Yep.
oh, it's a free video,
Yeah.
So it's now MediaCore versus free,
Oh, wow.
It's like, well, we all know that this looks like a free one, but
Right.
it's still free though,
Right.
in their minds.
Oh, yeah. People
Right.
don't necessarily care too
So
much.
we're just battling that mentality, and so it slowly progressed. And I feel like we've been like dragging the value up, as we go, and now we're to a spot where it's like it's just so clear of like what you're getting now when you're working with us and alternatives,
Right.
And they could see that, and we didn't know until we educate them, other than going, hey, this looks better, this doesn't.
Right.
Well, now it's like we have experience of working with 600 companies, and it's like I know exactly what you should do and why and how to get the results you're looking for. It doesn't matter if it's in marketing, recruiting, sales, training. Like, we've done it.
Right.
They're just going to make you a pretty video. We're going to make something effective that works for
You're
you.
nice to say pretty.
And it's like,
Those videos aren't pretty.
Yeah.
I see those videos. I don't care what channel it is. That's not pretty.
Oh, no, not those guys.
No.
Those aren't pretty. No.
Not pretty. There's a noticeable difference when you see it's not. Yeah, you pay for someone that knows what they're doing,
There's a huge
creating a professional video. We worked with you guys. We had a video created for like what it's like to work with us on a wedding.
Yeah.
So we've seen that. I've had the pitch from the news stations that have said like, well, we'll give you the video. I've had that pitch.
Yeah.
And then I ask for examples, and I see the examples, and I'm like, no way in hell am I doing that. That looks terrible.
Yeah.
That looks terrible. I want to look like, you just sent out 2 cameramen, that one of them's brand new, hasn't done anything, and the other one's just like walking around, and he's going like, walk through the door and shake hands with that guy. And I'm like, oh, now walk out the door and shake hands with the girl. That's the.
I always just get confused because you're investing significant amount of money into pushing this product in front of people. Like, their whole strategy with it is like, we're gonna show your audience, and it's like, why are you paying attention to what you're showing your audience that you're paying all this money for?
Right.
How does that part not matter to you?
I know.
It's just
the quality of it.
That's
they just see that and
very
they come
true.
flocking.
Yeah.
Like, no, that doesn't
Yeah.
work like that.
That's very true.
We have similar discussions. We had our company get together last night, and we were talking about it, and we were talking about how like even with wedding photography and portrait photography, that there's a lot of, I'll say, stylish photographers that are doing a trendy edit, if you will,
Filter, yeah.
throwing a filter on and whatever. And one of our employees basically brought up like, well, this a little concern, about someone else that was doing this. And I was like, to me, that's an easy thing to sell against, because I look at it and I go, I care what you planned for your wedding. If you spent hours designing the bridesmaid dresses, picking the shade of white of your dress, like
It's not
picking,
if they did. They did.
they
that.
did
They
do
did
it.
spend that
They
time.
spend all that time. At the end of all that, I'm the one you're paying to document it. I'm not gonna at the end go like, well, it's all brown.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go like, I want to make it look the way you chose to have it look. You're actually a really good example. If you think about your wedding, you didn't wear a black suit jacket. Imagine if I had taken your jacket
Put that
and
filter
thrown a
on.
filter over it,
It would have been a whole different color.
it would have been a completely different color. No one would have even known what it was except you and your wife.
Yeah.
And it's like, what a disservice. So, but it's a similar thing where you say like, well, this is the end product, but instead you're going like, I just don't want to pay that much. I don't see the value of the end product. I'm just going to go, I got this much to spend.
Yeah.
I'll go with that.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a challenge we both face for sure.
It's wild.
Yeah. I don't understand.
And then you go to the cities, it's a whole different game. They're used to paying more.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's weird,
Yeah.
Yeah.
An hour and a half away. Okay.
All right. That's true. Yeah. A friend told me when we got started in the doing weddings, she said Rochester is a town of people with deep pockets and short arms.
That's so true.
That's
I thought
very
that was so funny.
Yeah.
It was like I like that's in some ways, that's I understand. We've found a lot of wonderful long-armed people that have understood.
I know you have to find those.
But you kind of do.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, for us though, it's funny because those are the ones where, their business is thriving, they're doing well. I wonder why.
Right.
They invest in
Exactly.
things that
understand the
matter.
investment,
Not just us, but everything throughout the board. This is all great.
Yep.
Why?
very
What
true.
are they doing? They care.
Yeah, they care.
Yeah.
That's exactly it, and it's an overall investment, like you said. It's little touch points within your business that your customers see that allow the customer to understand that you care throughout the entire process. It's that Jen and I have known you for quite a while, a few years. We've known you, and we walk in today to join your podcast, and your message board up there says, "Who let these two in?" It's little things like that. It's the idea that you have that message board and you take the time to make it an engaging thing. That was an investment. That thing's not a $5 piece of equipment.
No.
It's sitting in a podcast room where we're not just all gathered around one little microphone that we bought off Amazon for $15.
Yeah.
It's knowing, and it all creates your brand and says that you're willing to spend the money.
And you're going to do it the right way.
You're going to do it the right way. We have photographers in our company that will say that we're waiting, quite literally just waiting for years for a certain lens to be released. And told us 2 years ago, one of them in particular said, "I want to move to this mirrorless system. I'm super excited to go to it. I understand the focusing is ridiculous. It's great. Can't wait to move," but they don't have a 35 millimeter. And I really want a 35 millimeter. And I remember talking to her and saying, the moment that comes up for pre-order, we got you.
Yeah.
We will get that lens. And you just do it. You invest in that. You get it and you put it in your photographer's hands, and now their work is improved.
Yeah.
And therefore the client experience is improved overall. And some people get that and some people don't. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the one last pricing thing. It was funny. It was the first bid that I lost because we were too low was a light bulb moment of this is interesting. It's not always low bid. It's are you even qualified to work with us because you charge so little, we don't even take you seriously.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, whoa, that sucks. First of all,
Yeah.
I lost it
Right.
because I didn't charge enough, even though our quality was on par with what they needed. But then it was well, why aren't we going after established businesses that care about this kind of stuff, that go, we need to pay to do it right, not pay this little amount to just try it.
Right.
It's so small, it doesn't really, if it doesn't work, whatever. It's a couple grand, who cares?
Right.
Right.
At a certain threshold, it's now it has to work. It has to be legit.
Right.
Because we're investing a significant amount of money into it. And, but then, I look at the, stuff too, and I'm like, oh yeah, we charge, 10 to 15 grand for a project. And then you look at advertising. And they're blowing
Oh yeah.
$150K a month.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yes. Right.
No problem. Not even big companies will
Right.
spend that.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
you're giving me crap about this, but this is your
Right.
advertising budget. What is this doing for you? Well, we can't track it. We don't know.
Exactly.
No, nothing. Okay. Well, that's great.
Right.
That's interesting.
Right.
So
Yeah, we've been there too in the same boat. And and at the time, I remember when we did that years ago, Jen's father was still running the company, and he said, it still stuck with me. He said, what's a popular electronic right now? And I remember at the time, like it was like Blu-ray players and stuff, you know. And he goes, okay. He said, so imagine you go to the store and you want to buy a Blu-ray player. That's what you want to buy. And you got 3 of them sitting on the shelf. And one of them is $15,000, right? And one of them is $15. And one of them is $500. Which one are you buying? And I'm like, well, probably the $500 one. And he goes, and why? And I said, because there's probably something wrong with the 15. And he goes, exactly. And he's like, so you really have to kind of think of that. Like at some point, your perceived quality is based on what you're charging, not necessarily your end product. They're going like, well, the overall experience is going to be less because it's cheap. How can it be as good?
Right.
So yeah, I remember going through the exact same thing. Right. Yep.
How do you think technology is changing the photography industry for you guys?
Well, it's changing a lot for us right now because of AI is our friend right now. We like AI.
AI is magical.
Because if you think about all the time that we've spent behind computers, oh my gosh, years ago, I would be like a late night editor. So I'd be editing these weddings hours and hours and hours, you know, super late till the birds started chirping. And that was my time to work, you know, still being home with my kids and everything. And now a lot of that work, just like culling and just basic editing, you know, because we don't add a lot of filters or anything, can be done by AI. And so we've drastically reduced the amount of time we're spending.
Yeah, the workflows have been changed dramatically.
Yeah.
I feel like AI in so many fields right now, any technology field or design field, even, people are terrified of it. And they think like, and for some good reason. You know, there are some professions I'm like, gosh, I don't know how many people are going into graphic design right now, but I hope it's less. Because I hope it's less because it was already a pretty crowded field of graphic designers that are available for work. And now that's only going to get worse. But I think the key is to find how AI can help you. It's not going anywhere. Like, find out. It's only going to get better. Find out how it's going to help you. I met with a company 3 years ago at a trade show, and they were working on culling software, and we talked about what we could do. And for anybody who doesn't know, for the culling, we take, if we take 2,500 pictures at a wedding, we have to,
we're not going to use all 2,500.
We're not using all 2,500 because grandma blinked or your tongue was sticking out in one. Like there are photos you don't use. So to take those 2,500 images and get it down to like 750, 800 that are like good, where no one blinked, it wasn't blurry, nothing, is a painstaking process for photographers. And you go through it and you say like, okay, I'm looking at every single image and I'm hitting keep or get rid of, pick it or reject it. And when I met with this company, I was talking to the CEO of the company. He was just getting ready to launch it. And I said, tell me about it. And I told him the volume we did, and he was like, you would be a good candidate. We'd put you on our alpha list for it so you could give it a real go. And he had designed, with a couple other computer guys, had designed software that would analyze faces, could detect cheekbone structure, your smile, your teeth, could detect your ears and how much of them were showing based on like which angles you were turning, could get the smiles, the squints, the blinks, everything.
Dang.
And so what it would do is if I took 150 photos of one person just for a portrait and sent them up there, the software could very clearly say, here are the 60 where they are looking, they are either smiling or they have a good straight face. Their lips aren't turned at all. There's no blinks. There's nothing. And at the beginning, that took a while because it had to be something that was tweaked and you really had to work on it. But now I have the first round of culling done. I still go through it myself, but to finalize the cull. But I can get rid, if we have 4,000 images from a wedding, by the end of the next day, I have all of the basic edits done, and I have it down to about 1,200. Like with doing nothing other than starting the computer application, inputting all my specifics, and saying go. And there are now editing programs that will do, like, I don't even know if I've told you about the new advancements in the one that we just got, but there's one that's being worked on by photographers. They've been working on it for a few years. They launched it 2 years ago, and now it's at a point where they just released a feature for stray hairs. And so if the wind picks up and a few hairs blow out, or somebody's just come out a little bit, that can be a real distraction, especially when you're shooting at a super high resolution.
Right.
And you can see it. It's crystal clear and it's distracting.
Yep.
And their software can detect it, remove it. They can remove strands of hair that run in front of someone's eyeball. It's amazing. And it's all AI, and it's not perfect, and you definitely do have to babysit it a little bit. But the more you babysit it, the more perfect it gets. So there's I think AI technology, I'm always about having the fastest and the best gear. But AI is the software that I think if you're not using AI right now, you will be left behind. It's just a question of when.
And in the end, it's just going to be a better turnaround for our clients, which is amazing. You know, and not only that, but I think, some people will give a little bit of criticism and saying well, is that really me if you're editing it too much and suddenly it's not my eyes or it's not there's the acne's all gone, is that realistic? And I will say, honestly, what we're trying to do is really portray you as you are. It's like Scott said, when there's a flying hair, if you're watching that live as a video or even in person, you're not going to notice that stray hair because you're looking at their face, you're looking at their movements, you're paying attention to what they're maybe saying, or lots of other things are going around. But when it's a still image, whether that's acne, like a big zit on your face, or whether it's a stray hair or something like that, well, suddenly your eye goes to the imperfection. And when you have a still picture, you don't want to be focusing on that imperfection, Right. So if you can remove that or reduce it a little bit, so then they can suddenly notice your pretty eyes or lips or whatever that you would normally be looking at when you're talking to a person, then that's kind of, what we want to do. So.
Right. It's more about reduction. It's not about replacement.
No. We don't want to.
If you have wrinkle, forehead lines, things like that, you're not going to, like you said, you're not going to see them. And I'm talking to that person. I'm not focusing on that. I don't even notice that.
Yeah.
But if I'm staring at you on a 40-inch monitor.
Big. Yeah,
and I'm zoomed in on your forehead, I'm like, oh, he's got some lines on his. I just see it then. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to remove him. That's who he is. I'm not going to remove them. But if I can reduce them by 20, 30% and make it more if you were standing in front of the person, seeing the person, that's a value to that.
Or newborns where they have, any kind of newborn, a lot of times they have acne within the first few weeks, or they have scratches on their face that they just got, or the amount of times we've done a walking session with a toddler and they just fell down the day before and they have a giant welt on their forehead. It's we need to remove that because that's not who they are. You know what I mean? It is who they are, but you don't want that to show up on your giant picture on your wall. So those types of things.
And the newest, I know the new alpha of the software for editing is about to allow you to designate that type of thing, where you can say just photographed Josh and his wife today. Josh cut himself shaving. So it'll say, this is Josh's face, and I can go, that's his shaving mark. And then it knows your face. And so it'll just remove it in all the images just instantly. And you would think, those tools are still very expensive. They cost a lot of money. So they haven't completely evened out on that. But as far as freeing up time to do more things for the business, they definitely have been worth the investment. It's the one I use for culling it literally has a ticker, and it'll say, we've saved you 135 days, 8 hours, whatever. And I'm like, what in the world? Why was that? What was I doing? It's crazy. It's crazy.
I was learning about AI the other day at that C12 group. I don't know if I've told you about that.
Yeah, I know that group. Yeah.
So the big topic that day was AI, and obviously about AI, and I'm I know it exists, but we've never used it a ton, just things here or there, and we've tried to give me interview questions about this, and they would suck, and it would we're not going to use it because that's garbage, or just little things, but it never worked well. But I mean, as you know, they're advancing it like rapidly, so that's
Right.
obviously helping. But there's all these other things that we were doing that we could have used AI for to save time on, and it's like, so all that being said is like, what they're comparing AI to now is like when the internet came out.
Right.
So it'll be that big of a wave. AI is going to be like, when the internet was finally released, it's going to be that big. So now we're like, okay, well, how do we adopt this,
Right.
and be at the leading edge
Somehow.
of what people are using it for?
Right.
Yep.
And it's it's super interesting because I don't think it ever replaces, like what people go like, well, they do photo and they do video and they do this and that. I'm like, what AI thing is going to go to the company, interview all the
Right.
people?
Yeah, of
Right.
course. Yeah.
Can it help with editing
Right.
and coloring and planning and efficiencies? Like, sure,
Sure.
Or if you're creating an ad and you needed, some stock filler shot, yeah, it could probably generate something. Not
probably.
yet, they're getting there, but. So I see it as an add-on, but not like, oh, we need to be worried about what it's going to
It all depends
do,
on the profession, I think.
It does.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you were to, if 15 years ago, you told someone, most of the grocery stores, you're not ever going to have anybody check your stuff. And if they do, you're going to be kind of irritated. Because you're going to be like, I just want to go through the self-checkout, ring my stuff out, and get out of here.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait for people. If you explain that to someone like 10 or 15 years ago, they would be like, whatever. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I need
And
to
now
talk
it's
to an actual person.
yeah, I mean, if
It's
you
like,
think, if you go to like, I don't know if you've been to like the Target Center recently at all,
Not recently.
but the Target Center is they redid a bunch of stuff there, and they have not a convenience store, but a concession stand that just has like drinks and like some small snacks, and all that it is like 4 little checkouts and one person standing there. And one person is watching you do it, and you do everything yourself.
Yep.
And you just zip right through, and you're out of the concession stand immediately and back to your seat.
Yep.
And it's those advancements in technology, they're gonna happen. They're just gonna. And for some careers, like I tend to think like there'll be some things with photography and some things with videography that AI will definitely learn to do. But I don't think it's ever gonna replace. Like you've worked with me. I've worked with you. I've done your wedding, right? I'm gonna make dick jokes and make you laugh. I'm gonna we're gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
And that personal side is what gets you to smile. If there's just a robot standing there taking your picture, that's not gonna work out. Now, when I'm done taking those photos, it's very conceivable that we could get to a stage where we're so comfortable with what it does that by the end of your wedding, you have all your images.
Yeah.
I mean, that's conceivable.
There's a fine line though too, because I think social media and your responses over email or getting DMs and stuff can get a little too out of control with the AI.
Right.
It's like you want a little bit of some signatures, email signatures and things like that, which are automated. But there are some major photographers that I've learned from before, and they just have these systems that are just like, you're not even talking to this person ever. I mean, it's just like you're getting email after email, and this generative thing that comes with the automatic
like the
DM.
ClickFunnels and
oh
stuff
my
like that,
goodness,
yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
we're not interested in heading that way either. Where it's
Right.
like it's not personalized at all. And you're not even talking to us, and it's
right.
so obvious when you get all of those anyway, and all you want to do is just unsubscribe, get me out of this.
But it's a good thing, and I do think that when you look at businesses, you can clearly see the ones that are like trying to find ways
Yep.
to incorporate it, and I think it's very, very important to do.
Yeah.
Because again, it's just not going. It's not Skynet, guys. It's not Terminator. Like they're not going to kill you.
Yeah.
It's like these are computers. We can control them. And just the advancements they can do. Like this is just a tool. It's just an amazing tool that like you just have to wake up and see. And it reminds me actually when we first started doing social media for our company, it was for the portrait side of things, roughly like, I don't know, 13, 14 years ago, we started being current with it and trying to keep up with it. We had some photographers in this area that literally said, "Meh, that's not going to take off." About social media. And I'm like, and I remember at the time going like, I don't know what this is going to be. I don't know what this is going to be, but I know a lot of people are using it, so it feels weird to ignore it. Like we got to try something here to stay relevant, but that guy's out of business. but I remember that. I think AI is no different.
Yeah.
I think it's just another tool, and people are scared of it. And for our careers, I think we're fine. They integrated. I don't know if you saw, they integrated like ChatGPT-4 into Canva. So the integration into Canva, like I literally said, I sent you an ad that said, I want to work. I love working with you guys. I love you guys.
Yeah.
So I'm like, here's my company, here's their company, here are some pictures of their company. Design me something that says I can work with them.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what was spit out.
Dang.
And we made like 2-3 changes.
Yeah.
That's it. And then we sent it to you, and you made like 2-3 changes.
Yeah.
And
that's wild.
And that used to be something that you said, like, I'll have my designer work on that. Yep. And I still might even say that. I do.
Yeah.
Canva is my designer.
Yeah.
But it's that type of thing.
Canva.
Yeah. I had somebody worked for us as a assistant for a while, and she was like, well, I'd like to be a full-time graphic designer. And I was like, well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
I would
a copywriter now, that could be an issue.
That could be an issue.
Yeah. So let's transition a little bit into kind of the future, as technology is a good segue, but what do you think the future of your businesses look like? Where do they go? What are you guys trying to do?
Goodness, future. I don't know. I mean, the good thing is we've built up a team of people here, so that have worked under us for a long time, and we love all of them, and they've been amazing, and that gives us a lot of hope and a lot of flexibility with our lives, with having kids and stuff. Scott always jokes that he's never going to retire, and he's always going to be doing something. And I mean,
you feel the same.
Yeah. He'll always do something where on his computer or working behind the scenes.
I always say I'll die in my chair in front of my computer. That's where I'll die.
Owning your own business is a lot of work. And so I feel like, we get asked like, well, will your kids take over? Are they interested in it? And our oldest is 15 right now, and she is doing some work for us. She does some like shipping out of the office and just little things here and there, and she really likes it a lot. But at the same time, we've told her multiple times, we've said like, we don't want you to feel pressure to have to take this over, because it's a lot, and it's like, we lost a lot of sleep. We lost. I mean, it's just a really taxing thing, and it's stressful because you can't ever leave it. I mean, you're always thinking about your business and what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong, and unfortunately, you always focus more on what you're doing wrong, and it stresses you out, and that's a hard life. So anxiety. So that is something that we've told them over and over and over, but so we don't know, that might be an option someday. Maybe one of them will take over and we can kind of guide them into that, which would be great, but they might not be cut out for it too, and it depends on who knows what their life ends up being, who they end up marrying, what they're
still,
exactly.
Right.
It's like exactly.
You don't know anything at that age.
Right. So I mean,
they don't. You think they do? They do.
Right. Not. Oh yeah. No, but we've talked about doing some education or some mentoring,
We've done mentoring
as well.
A few times.
Yeah, we might kind of get into that a little bit more over the next few years, helping others just kind of build up their business and stuff like that, and share some secrets.
Yeah. I think we've scaled in such a way that we've never done this to try to make millions of dollars. Never. We've priced ourselves such that the people that we work with are still people that we like. And I personally I have difficulty understanding someone's logic that would spend $150,000 on a wedding. That blows my mind. Now, we've done some weddings where they've spent a lot of money, and we've been like, wow, that was a lot that they spent. But most of the time, we've tried to keep ourselves priced to where we make a good living, we do fine, but we work with people that we like, that we care about, that we can relate to. and that helps us do our job, because like we want to be able to joke with people and have a good time, you know, and we've scaled the business in such a way relative to that we have an amazing team that works for us, and they feel similarly, and we work, and we've done it so that we don't have to do as many weddings as we used to. We still do a lot of photography, but we can lower our obligations for the shooting side and have others pick up the slack there, and we can spend a little bit more time with our family. And even if we end up scaling back a little bit, I think that's okay too. I think we're the future of our business. I'm not looking to build 20 more offices like MediaCore. But I you know, if I had the success at your age that you've had, I probably would. I probably would. I think that's probably where I would be, because at your age, I had that thirst and passion to grow and grow and grow. And
well, before kids, you have a lot more time and a lot more energy.
Freedom, you know? Yeah. But I could see us, there are some things like we really do enjoy real estate photography. It's fun. And it's not super difficult or stressful. And we have great clients in our area that we work with all the time, and so I could see us scaling to a point where we're doing that more, and scaling back the portraits. Kind of let our staff dictate, but I'm always about. But then again, you know, I say that, and then I think about like, well, in the last 2 years we've acquired 2 companies. We expanded to Des Moines like 4 years ago, and then we hired a 4th team just recently. So maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. You know how it goes. If you're running the business, you kind of like go based on like how the market takes you and the supply and demand and all that. And you change your viewpoints on the trajectory of your company where you'd like it to go, based on those things. I think we'd love ultimately though to keep it the smaller company that it is. Keep the close knit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was interesting what you said about like not wanting these people that are spending all this money, like keeping the people that we love and that we know, because you know, you go to these photography conferences, right, and they're all bigger photographers, and they're all telling you like, don't you want this, like, don't you want these high-end weddings, and don't you want this really quick easy way to make $4,000 by doing these 5 poses, you know? And it's like, I go to those, and now I think we've gotten to the point in our business where I think in the past, earlier on, I would be like, yes, oh yes, like fast way out, you know, like let's try to do that, and let's try to do this and this and this, and very much the same as everybody else. And I think we've gotten to the point where we have our niche and we like know what we do and we're confident with what we're doing, that I'm like, no, I don't want to do the 5 same poses for that session. I want to be able to get to know the client, and I want to do what's best for them and what makes them look good. And no, I want a wedding where I can like have fun at and like know half the people there, and you know, and we really like them as people, and they're not they're more about the marriage than they are about the actual like wedding day, you know, and about the
I'm glad you said that, 'cause I was going to say that too. We say that to so many couples. Gosh, we might have said it to you when we were meeting with you, and I think that's such a thing that can get away from people when they're doing a wedding. They get so focused on that wedding, and they lose sight of like what's actually happening that day. And you're like, but that's where you should be. You should be there. You should be thinking about like, I'm getting married. Like this is my husband. This is my wife from this day forward, you know?
I mean, I think you guys do like, it's like more than, to me, it was like way more than the photography. It was like, I mean, you like run the day, you know?
Right.
Which is like,
yes.
You know, I didn't want, I mean, we'd shot video of weddings prior, and we've seen other, you know, people do it and stuff like that. But we've also seen you guys do it, and it's like a different experience. And like to me, it was so easy to go like we want Scott and Jen for sure on our wedding day, because one, we like them, we know it's gonna be fun. But I think the experience and the knowledge that you guys have is just like, it makes the day so much easier. Like it's so less complicated. You're looking out for us.
Oh yeah.
You could sometimes it's like, oh, this person's being a pain in the ass.
Oh,
Like,
100%.
we're gonna deal with them.
Yeah.
You don't worry about it.
Jake. He is a pain.
It's always Jake.
But it's like it's super
true.
nice to go like, you guys got our back. You're gonna handle it.
Yeah.
We didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And the day just goes by smoothly. People don't think about that.
No, and not to toot our own horn, but I feel like that is part of having our experience, the experience that we've had doing so many weddings. And there's a lot of photographers in Rochester even that will be like, oh, no, I've done a few weddings. I'm not doing it anymore. And I think it's because the day can be so chaotic. Yeah. And it's like they don't know where to be. They don't know what to do. And they're not running the day. I mean, obviously, if there's a planner, they're mostly running the day and we're kind of the... But if there's no planner, we kind of like joke a lot of times and say, we're kind of the planners because a lot of it is built around the photography.
Absolutely.
And we have the day structured perfectly to make it work well for you with the ceremony, but then also work well for us with the photography as well. So we are kind of navigating it. You're right, but we have no problem being the bad guys because for instance, for the first look, I can't tell you how many times the mother of the bride will say,
or the mother of the groom.
Yeah, sometimes
Never
know.
Sorry,
the best
moms.
friend. No, and I know. Listen, as parents, obviously we get it. I want to be part of every part of the day, but they're like, oh, can we go see the first look? Oh, can we? Oh, and we say, probably not. But I will go check with the bride, and we usually talk to the bride and we say, I'm assuming you just want, because most of the time they want to have it just be the two of them. So I'm assuming you want it to be the two of you, and we'll tell everybody not to come. And they're like, oh, yeah, we don't want anybody else there. So we instantly just take care of that and say like, nope, nobody else can come. Sorry, just them, and just controlling those situations and making sure it's about the bride and the groom. Because honestly, pictures aren't always fun. I mean, especially formals. Like we always call it kind of the necessary evil because...
That's our new slogan, by the way. Pictures aren't always
fun. But they're not.
Thanks, honey. You wrote that one.
But how many people appreciate... But they all appreciate it and they all love it after the fact. They really do.
Right.
Especially the formal pictures. Everybody's like... okay, like we need to make sure everybody's here and coming up and like calling names and all this sort of stuff. But how often do you have this many people in your family together that are dressed well and ready, and you need those pictures? So if we can make that process as fast and easy as possible and as the least painful possible, then I mean, we're going to try to do that.
I think honestly, man, that means everything to us. I can speak for Jen.
Yeah.
That means everything to us to hear you describe the way we were on your wedding.
Yeah.
That means so much to us. That literally if we were Sims characters and we had a happiness meter, we would have shot right up on that, man. That is just honestly, I'm definitely the most emotional in our company. And that one, literally, man, that hits me in the field. When somebody says something like that, I'm like, oh, we did our job.
That's our ultimate goal.
God, that feels great.
We want to make it easy for you and make it fun and not have you guys worry. So yeah. Good.
Awesome. Well, I know I could keep going for a long time. Because I haven't even barely touched some of my...
Yeah, I got a room at the hotel in walking distance. So No, I didn't. But I knew I could. I told you heading into this, you and I can't clear our throat in an hour and a half.
But I do want to ask you both, too, because this is something that we like to ask everybody is at the end, too, is it's a big podcast on people that are in business, have been doing business, entrepreneurial. So I always like to ask, what are, one or two couple key things that each of you have learned along this journey that have really helped you succeed?
Oh wow, that's good.
I will say one thing. Well, let's see.
I can go.
I'll say one thing, and I'll say that, and then I guess, well, you kind of touched on this earlier, how when you were talking about when the internet was crazy about entrepreneurship and finding your dream and pursuing your passion and all this sort of stuff. I think we have to be careful with that, in this world, because I think a lot of people will hold out on many other jobs and not try hard enough, long enough, because they think they can find success in all of these, in whatever their passion is. Okay. And first of all, what you're doing in your life as a job doesn't necessarily have to be your passion. First of all, I mean, you can find passion in many other aspects of your life that don't have to be the thing that pays you. But second of all, you can find a lot of passion in the job that you're working, even if it wasn't your passion, so to speak, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's true with so many jobs because it goes beyond the actual work. And I think you just have to realize too, and I think we realize this, is that like not all aspects of this job are fun, you know, are great.
Right.
And that's how every job is. There's always going to be a part of it that's tedious, that you don't like to do, you know, that doesn't feel like your passion. And I think once you start to accept that, then you can do anything, really. And once you start to accept that you can find a positive part of that job or something that can bring you life, beyond the work part of it, then that will bring you the joy and the, you know, the passion that you're looking for, really. So
I have two things.
yeah.
Okay. One, you probably know what I'm doing, honey, as soon as you
Yes.
see me doing this. So in my wallet, I carry this little folded up receipt. And inside this folded up receipt are two little Mickey things. In 2013, we took our first trip to Disney World, right? I had no idea what to expect with that, but I was hungry for business at that time. I mean, I was like, just we're gonna rule the world, right? So these two things. So we were walking down Main Street, USA, the Magic Kingdom, right? It started to rain a little bit, so some guests started to leave. Just as it's raining, so people are leaving. But it was about to clear up, and we kind of knew that it was going to clear up. And I'd heard that they would do this like parade every now and then around the rain, so it would keep all the guests there.
Oh, yeah.
It's a brilliant business decision, right? So we watched the parade. And we stood there with our daughter, and we watched it, and we were like, oh, this is great. It's a little parade. And at the end, they shot off the cannons, and these little Mickey things that I still carry 11 years later shot out. And I looked at these, and I was like, first thing I said was like, wow, that's a mess. What a mess that is. But then I saw what it was, and I was like, oh, those are little Mickeys. And then I watched all the kids literally clean up the whole thing. And I kind of stepped back from it as a business-minded person. And I thought, like, this is brilliant. Look at all the facets of the business that are working right now to create this one thing. And to the layperson, to the person that just doesn't understand business, or they're just there to have a good time, they're not as twisted as I am looking at everything analytically. They're like, what a fun parade. But I look at it and I'm like, okay, the people were about to leave. Spontaneous parade. They shot out this confetti and they made a huge mess, but they don't even have to clean it up because all the kids are running around picking up all these things. And I keep this because it teaches me that, like, first of all, that brought amazing joy to everyone. So to mix joy with efficiency in your business is so very important. And that's why, like, as a business, we always try to find the parts of our job that bring different people joy and keep them in them and strengthen those pieces. And the last thing I would say to that is, when you are an entrepreneur and you start your own business, it can feel so lonely, so lonely. And all you're left with is, like, it's me and my computer researching stuff at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I found a couple people in Delaware that understand my struggles, right? And it's so lonely. But when you start to find people that have similar joy in that part of your business, in the part where you're bringing people joy, and they truly enjoy seeing that smile on the customer's face and carrying out your mission together, then you're going to do well. Find those people. It's all about the people. You know that as well. It's all about the people in your business. It has much less to do with your mission statement and all that as it does who is out there for your company, who is working, who cares about what you're doing out there in the field. And so trying to find those people. And when you bring them in, it doesn't feel lonely anymore. And it feels like a team. And that changes everything when it feels that way.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you agree.
Yeah, no, 100%.
You started the same way in one person, and then boom, you add people, and it's not Dakota, but it's I just
Had to put
We had to do something in there for him, of course.
But I mean, no, I always make fun of your team because, but it's all out of love, man. It's all out of love. I have worked with so many people on your team, and they're all just wonderful human beings. They're all very talented, and they all have a passion for the business.
Yeah.
And it's why a company can do well for years and years, is having good people.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
I love it. Well, thank you both again. This is awesome for me. And
Yeah, we're doing it every Friday, right?
Yep, that's right. That's right.
It's just us.
Yep, we're gonna start another podcast. We're gonna be doing this. We're gonna be live.
It'll be like the college dropout. College dropout manager.
Call it dropouts.
I guess I won't come to that then.
Entrepreneurial dropouts. Yeah, I like that.
No, but thank you again. This has been awesome.
Thank
man.
you for inviting us.
And as always, thank you so much for tuning in this week. We appreciate you listening so much. We're trying to continue growing this, and we're trying to get out more and more consistently again. Yeah, we appreciate it. Share it out if you enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next one.